Morning, everyone. I'm calling the Southborough Board of Health meeting to order on April 23rd at 11 a.m. Two board members are present, myself and Safdar Medina. We're not expecting Liz Zulik today. So first order of business is public comment. So if you have any public comment, feel free to raise your hand in the room, and we are remote only today. So there's no in-person. Okay, I don't see any public comment. So approval of meeting minutes 3/12/24 and 4/2/24. So I have a few minor changes on those. So if we look at the 3/12, on the second page under topic request meeting with select board, the discussion should be just for 200 Southfield, not 98 Woodland.
Okay, got it.
And then on April 2nd, if you can add into the sentence, certified letters were signed, but not by Mr. Anderson. Can we just clarify that they were signed by his bookkeeper, but not Mr. Anderson?
Got it.
Just so we know who signed off on those. Okay. Safdar, did you have any updates to either one of those minutes?
No, got to review them this morning. No, nothing else.
Okay.
Perfect.
Go ahead.
Yep, all set.
Okay, so I'll move that we approve the 3/12/24 and 4/2/24 minutes as amended this morning.
And I second and vote aye.
And Malinowski's aye. Thank you. Okay, next, we're just going to talk about 98 Southville. So Heather, do you want to give an update on the status of that one, please?
Yes, 98 Southville is our property where we had the housing court with our representative Sue Chaplin and Michael Seeger with the temporary restraining order for an injunction for the repairs of heat, the smoke and seal monitors, and the thermostat, so working heat. And as of April 2nd, Mr. Haskins has repaired all of the court-ordered repairs. So Michael and I were in there on April 2nd. The furnace for the left side has been certified by a HVAC, and the like I said, the smoke detectors have all been installed and in working order. So the remaining violations, Michael actually went through 98 left on April 2nd while we were there, and he issued a newer inspection report on that left side, and every remaining violation is under the category of maintenance and repair, where you have 30 days to start the repairs, and none of the conditions were deemed to endanger or needed that short-term follow-up, like the heat, the smokes, and the thermostat. So we reviewed this with our counsel as we are not proceeding with the court case anymore because that has been repaired. And this case is in a housing court with the tenants and the owner. So they have different ongoing court appearances. And our inspection report, like I said, was updated, and Michael Seeger might be asked either by court or by owners to re-inspect. But other than that, we're not doing active management in terms of the court case has completed.
Thank you. And just to clarify for the public watching, this was a case where the board felt that there were significant health risks and safety risks for the tenants and the homeowner who was living there. And that's what we pursued in housing court, and those have been rectified. So we're considering this closed, and where we did so much public discussion, I just wanted to make sure that we looped back.
Right. And there are ongoing, I know fire is still involved with the smokes.
All right, next is residential trash hauler regulations. So Heather put together a draft of, we do not currently have trash hauler regulations in town. We do require that trash haulers fill out a permit application as well as a fee to conduct trash hauling business in town, but we have historically not had trash hauler regulations. So Heather went ahead and put together a draft. So Heather, do you want to pull that up and we can walk through it? I know this is our first pass on it, so I'm not
Right,
expecting
it is our
we're
first
gonna
path.
agree to it today, but at least
Right,
start
Barbara
the
emailed that out.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
I don't know if I have it, but I might have it right here to pull up. Hold on.
Oh, you may not have share. I can share. Hold on.
I have it pulled up too, so however.
I just
works.
want it up for the public. That's all. So that they have it. Can you guys see my screen?
Okay, now I have it up, and yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. Okay.
So this, it looked like in 2020, before I came, Southborough and Westborough were looking to potentially do regulations, but they weren't done. And I just wanted to back up and talk about as well Boylston and Northborough, who
Mhm.
are in our collaborative. Boylston has been looking at these for a couple months, and actually they have a meeting this morning where they're probably going to do the final approval. So, I'm
Okay.
kind of waiting to hear so that we can match as closely. But, and Northborough is interested. And just also for background, we have a transfer station in Southborough. There's not a transfer station in Boylston or Northborough, but Northborough also has that pay as you throw where you can participate with the bags with the town pickup. And so these best practices for private hauler regulations are from the state Mass DEP. And they have posted this and really encouraged towns to do this with their private haulers. And
So this is,
mandatory- go ahead.
sorry, so that's the first, that's this first part
That's
of
the page that says sort of note to user.
Okay,
Okay,
so this is
So
from the state.
Yeah.
it's not right. That's not going to be part of the regulation.
Yeah, okay.
That's information for us. And the mandatory recycling piece is also on the transfer station website. So, our residents have been informed of that piece. And then residential only private hauler regulations is the other thing to think about, residential commercial. But
Mhm.
I believe we're working with residential, right, Barbara?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's, right, that's just telling you what to do basically from the state.
And currently we have 2 residential trash haulers in town, Barbara?
Yes. Yep.
And do we have permits for both right now?
Yes.
Okay.
And also just FYI, another reason why we want to do these trash hauler regulations now is, as I said, Boylston is also doing them, but on the permit, it asks for data in terms of how much they're collecting, in terms of tonnage, and in terms of recyclable materials. And they're not always giving that information. And this here would give teeth to them following rules and regulations. And one of them is in collecting the data that the private haulers are collecting. And that's very important. You might know that, you may know, Chelsea probably knows the town in a couple years contract. They have a very long-term contract, the transfer station, with the Wheelabrator and Millbury, and they're at a very favorable rate right now. So in a couple years, they're going to be looking at that rate they know is going to go up. So they're going to be looking at options in terms of transfer station, in terms of pay as you throw, other options for municipal waste and recycling. So the data has been, requested from Barbara, from the select board members, I believe, in terms of this data. So this would be helpful as well to have more teeth with doing that.
Okay.
Effective date, right? We haven't decided that yet.
Right, and I almost think that this should line up with when our permit fees are due. So we do January
Got it.
1 for
Mhm.
permit fees. I don't know, but Barbara, what are your thoughts on having it line up with that date to
That's
start?
fine. I'm fine with that. I just kind of highlighted what you guys needed to know, even the stuff that we do now.
Yeah,
So, yep, you want to have it effective January 1st, that's fine. Or do you
I
want
just
this?
don't know what advantage we get. Well, and maybe it doesn't matter if we make it effective now. I just don't know if that's gonna present any issues in between now and January 1, if we did it earlier.
But could we make this effective in December? Because that's when I start annoying them for their permit information.
Yeah, I mean, we could make it effective now. I just, is that gonna create any issues if it doesn't line up with that date? That's,
Well, if somebody does come into the town, I would
New.
have them apply for a permit anyways, and then it's up to you. I mean, I don't mind if it's December. It looks like it's only 2 companies that I can see.
yeah. But to your point, if we have a new one come in and they don't fill out the appropriate documentation to be doing business in town, then we don't have any teeth yet. So maybe we should do it when we're ready to, maybe the effective date should be when we're ready to approve it.
Okay, that's fine. I
Okay.
like that.
I just talked myself out of,
That's all right.
okay,
So yeah, the definitions, and this is the state, mandatory recycling ordinance. And needing to separate that and to
so,
have,
but we already have codified mandatory recycling or no?
Yeah.
We do.
well, I don't, it's on the transfer station that it's required. And I think they give like per an MGL, but per the state, but do you mean do they have separate regulations with DPW or select board?
Right,
About
that's
this?
my
I'm not
question.
sure.
So I think we need to find that out from Bill.
Mhm.
So that we know which path we're gonna go on this document.
Yeah,
And if it would even apply, if it's under Bill, under DPW, does it just apply to
to
the transfer station? Or
right,
is that town-wide? And do
right,
we need to
right.
adopt our own?
I understand, right,
Okay, so if you can find that out.
yeah.
Um. So if you look at the kind of second bulleted section here where it says, here are the options for mandatory recycling. I don't know that under chapter 40, section 8H, that this has ever gone to town meeting to
Mhm,
establish a program.
mhm.
And I don't know that to my knowledge, the local board of health has not used chapter 111, section 31. I also don't know how, I don't know how you would choose to enforce the last one there.
You mean in terms of separating the waste and recyclables?
Yeah, well, the Massachusetts waste bans 310 CMR 19.017. That last bullet on the bold.
Oh, can choose to, I see what you're
Yeah, I
saying.
don't know
The
exactly what
waste
that
bans.
means.
That might mean, I mean, there's one mandatory recycling too. The waste bans are things that are now like mattresses are banned from
Yeah,
waste, so those have to be disposed of differently. And I think what they're saying is, there could be some language with the trash hauler, these are the banned items.
yeah, okay. Okay, so I think we just need to get with Bill
Yeah,
on the recycling piece. Okay, so this is the permit portion, and Barbara, in your review of this, does this encompass essentially the data we're collecting today?
Yep, it does.
So you're okay with this?
Yep.
Okay, and we look at our annual fees on a regular basis now, so that should be fine. You're notifying them to renew their permit 30 days before, which is December 1st, right?
Yep.
Okay. Just stop me if anybody has a question on these sections. So bundled service requirement. So to my knowledge, the 2 that we have in town now do have bundled.
Right.
And this looks like we can require them to be bundled.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I think we should.
yeah. Safdar, what do you think about that? Yeah, mute.
Oh, no, I agree. I agree. I just have some other questions once we're done though.
Okay,
Now, but we can go through the
go
document.
ahead. You can go now. Go ahead.
So the first question was, so these two private contractors, so they, what about, I mean, there's definitely other trash companies in town, right? That other people use. So do they
Well-
dispose of their waste somewhere else, or how does that work?
So there's been a lot of acquisitions of waste companies in the last, I don't know what, like 2 years, Barbara?
Yes, Wind Waste Management just, I don't know, they bought up Orifice. So you
Right.
might see Orifice containers around. They're allowing them to use them
Got it.
because Wind
Okay.
Waste knows to pick them up. But if you see anybody else besides Wind
Right.
Waste Management or E.L. Harvey, let me know because I'll go right
Right.
after them.
There should not be any other trash haulers operating in town because they are required to get a permit.
Right.
The other option is just people going to the transfer station. But there shouldn't be any other trucks. So I can tell you my barrels are not the company that we use.
Okay, well then that makes me feel better because I'm
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, I see more than two. As I read this the other day, I was like, wait a minute, what is going on? Is there another? Do they go somewhere else to dispose their trash then or something? No, but so it's just these company names changing all the time. Okay.
Yeah, and I just think there's been a
Fair
shift
enough.
in that industry in this area. Because I think since we've been in town, I don't know, we've had like 3 or 4 different ones. And Barbara, I think we used to have more in town. And it's
We
kind of
did. Yep, there were a couple of others, and Republic was one of them. But they've had so many problems. Somebody bought them out eventually. I think somebody buys them out all the time, but I haven't seen any Republic trucks, which is good.
And
That answers that question. Good,
Safdar,
good.
I also probably for the last 6 months have called Barbara with every trash thing that I see, and she's like, "Got bought out by this company." So
Okay. All right. And then the other question was, a lot of people are doing composting. Where does that fall into this? And I didn't see a specific regulation for composting. Do we need it right now or not? That's the question.
So I think that would be separate from this.
Okay.
Because this is really regulating the trash haulers and making sure that we have that data that Heather and Barbara were talking about for other purposes.
And as far as I know, I mean, the state has a waistband and, these mattresses came onto that recently, and also like basically the recyclable items, because those it's mandatory recycling. But as far as I know, it's not private food. I don't think it's how about that? It's not mandatory.
Okay. Understood.
Good
And I mean,
question,
there's
though.
private companies that do that,
But that may be something that we should look at to see if other
some
towns
places
have.
offer it at the transfer station. Yep.
What was that transfer station?
Other towns offered at transfer station. I
Oh,
actually
oh.
don't know if we do or not, but some towns do.
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, didn't think so.
Okay. So that's the bundled service. Exceptions. I'm not sure that there would be an exception here.
Right. I agree.
You have to apply for the permit to follow the reporting. I can't think of anything that would be an exception.
Okay.
Oh, and the third thing why this is important, in Boylston at least, I haven't heard it so much here, but sort of requirements for, the private companies, sometimes they leave trash for weeks and they don't pick up on schedule. And especially in the summer, that can be a nuisance situation.
But we haven't had that in town, right?
No, I have not heard that complaint.
Okay.
Nope.
I haven't either. I think maybe a while
Boylston
ago,
has.
but not in several years. Okay.
I have not heard it. Yep, I have not heard it.
So is there something in here though about that, Heather, that?
Well, that's in one of the attachments. We don't have all the attachments up.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
Yep.
so I know that we just kind of talked about composting because there is a compost quote unquote hauler company that I think Southborough qualifies for. I don't know if people are actively using it, but we may want to consider having that as a exemption or exception.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Right, are they considered, right, haulers?
Oh, okay. And rather than having a separate rules and regs for composting, do you think just put it as an exception as into the trash hauler?
Yeah, but also we would have to look into it and see if they actually, I think it's called like green earth or something, or black earth, or
Okay.
I know people were trying to get it in town, but I don't know if it
Right,
actually,
and I don't know if other towns,
is
permit them or
utilized.
regulate the compost haulers.
I would be more inclined to use them as an exception because it's environmentally friendly, but
Yeah.
we can look into it more.
Okay. So let's add that in for now into this draft
Mhm.
and just list it. And then we can get more information and see if it's makes sense.
Okay.
So the enforcement part, I have a few thoughts on. One, I don't see anything explicitly in here that says, if, like in Safdar's example, Safdar's driving through town and sees another company that's not on our list that we haven't proactively reached out to and they haven't responded to us yet, right? So how do we deal with those situations where they're operating in town, but we haven't had contact with them yet?
If I hear about it, I do the research, I find out who they are, and I call them. I had to call Orifice because I kept seeing the barrels out, and that's when I found out, oh no, we were bought out by Wind Waste
Win.
Management. So I got the number and I called Wind Waste and I said, you have to have a permit, get it to me now, the stuff, and they did.
So should we add that in here, Barbara, that you're doing that?
If, well,
It,
if
sorry,
you-
I have a suggestion. Instead of saying that we're doing that, could we just put like a tab in our website saying like, I don't know if that would work. Never mind. I was gonna say like, if people know of another company, they can file it there, but that might not work.
hmm,
I also don't know.
How
that
did you find out, Barbara? Just from driving and seeing it?
yeah,
I just don't know that like the general public would know
Right.
to report somebody that they don't even know isn't.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, you're
I think
right.
that's the challenge, but I still think that we need. I'm just thinking we need language around if what we do when we're notified, whether it's us that sees it or somebody reports it to us, what is the process to go through that? Because the way I'm reading the enforcement in at least A is that they haven't responded to us. I'm talking about like the step before that where we need to, and maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe we just do it and then part A picks up when they don't respond to us, if that's what happens.
I think that's fine personally. I don't know that we necessarily need language about how we would initiate contact with a company that's not registered with us in enforcement.
Correct.
But then to your point, like once we've established reaching out to them and there's no contact, then we would start with this, like you, to your point, section A.
Okay.
Do we
I would
also
imagine
think-
at the top, we at least put all private, trash haulers need to be permitted and are subject to, regulations here.
Right. And is there public awareness of this? Because I don't even know if the public knows. Like somebody could just Google a trash hauler, right? And call them. So should we? Is this just more also making sure the public knows?
We
Uh,
should probably, Barbara, do we list on our website who's permitted in town?
sorry, we don't have anything for trash right now.
So we don't
So-
see on our website that when and,
No, but so that should be, we should get a tab up there and do it.
yeah. So I think that that's step one, Safdar. I mean, I feel like when you call for trash service, people ask, like they should know that if they're not permitted in town, then that means that they're not doing business in town. And I don't think a trash hauler is just gonna pick up one house when you call, like that they don't even do business in. But that being said, that doesn't prevent somebody from just saying, I'm gonna go, start advertising in Southborough and not get a permit with them. So I think we need to figure out how to educate the public on this.
Mhm.
Okay. And Barbara, do we have a listing of by trash hauler, how many residences utilize them?
Wind Waste has not sent me anything yet. It wasn't in the regulations, but I'll say E.L. Harvey has a huge list and they do send it to me.
Okay. Do we have sorry, I didn't see this. Is that one of the required pieces of data that they have to provide you, is the number of?
That's what I went through this quickly, so I don't know if I saw anything. If not, I think we have to put it in there so we kind
Yeah.
of know.
Yeah,
Covered.
yeah, it's listed, I believe, again, in one of the attachments, so probably I should send those out.
Yeah.
But
that'd be
yes, it does, right, customers and their, amounts, because like I was saying, that's the data piece that's important.
helpful. Okay. So I want to talk about that second paragraph under A there that says, if the permitted hauler does not respond within 7 days, the Board of Health shall hold a public hearing.
Oh.
This is for the violation of them not filling out a permit, correct?
Well, it says a violation, so non-compliance.
Okay.
Of any
Hmm.
section, right?
So this is after one, like them not responding within 7 days. So,
No, but then but then remember in the other section, there's like the warnings, and the first offense is a warning and the second one is.
well,
a
yeah, that's what I'm
fine.
saying. It doesn't match
Yeah,
up
it
for
doesn't
me.
match up.
So I think I would prefer it not to be, we have a hearing after 7 days. Like, I
Right.
think we need to have a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
ways to get them within compliance rather than
Yeah.
just going after the hearing. So Heather, can you rework this
Yep.
section to match?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna keep moving because this is a lot of information and this is not the only time we're gonna look at it. So, oh, here you go. Here's your penalties.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think we need to think about first offense, second offense, third offense. That's like how often is an offense? Like, you can only get one a year because you're only filling out a permit one a year. Like, I think we need to say what that is.
Yep.
And each day of failure to comply with the regulations shall constitute a separate violation. Well, where is that defined? So I'm reading this penalties as you didn't fill out the permit for that 1 year, but maybe I'm wrong. And then,
I'm gonna rob your candy dish. Oh, yes.
You can rob it.
No, sweeten my disposition. I need it tonight.
but I think it says fails to follow these regulations.
Still a lot of issues with people. We're gonna get this
Okay.
straightened eventually.
I think we need to think about what those offenses mean.
Yeah.
And then what does it mean to constitute a separate violation
Yeah.
to not comply with regs? Is that outside of filling out the permit? Like, they're not following,
Right.
they're
Base bands. Yep.
they're doing something that, they didn't combine, they're not offering recycling and trash or something like
Right.
that. So I think we
Right.
need to figure out what that is. Okay,
Yep.
all right. And then we need the attachments.
Yep.
Safdar, any other comments on kind of this first pass?
Guess we'll look at those exact numbers later, right? In terms of the
Oh,
offense.
about the amounts? Yeah.
Okay.
hmm And I'd also be curious to see like what Boylston and Northborough would be looking to do.
Right.
Now, I
Yeah.
went through Westboro's that Paul Pazinski pulled out a few years ago. I couldn't find it online, but I do have the paper copy. The first offense was a warning. Second
Yeah.
offense was $100 fine. The third offense was $500 fine and possible revoking of the permit. But it doesn't give timeline like that. But then they
Okay.
can appeal it. I mean, it's just, so that's something, like you said, we have to work on.
Okay. And obviously, like, we just want them to comply. We,
Yeah.
you know, like the goal is not to
Yeah.
have to impose
And
those violations.
like I said, Boylston's been looking at this for months. They're actually meeting now this morning. It might be the final Board of Health meeting, but I believe they also have a committee that does, they have a separate committee who would also was looking at this, but it might be finishing in the Board of Health today because they've been looking at it for a couple months.
Okay. Okay. So we'll take this up next month too. Okay, FDA Retail Standard 5.
That also came as a draft document, and for the FDA retail standards, standard 5 has to do with conducting a foodborne illness investigation. And just, for the grant terms, standard 5, it's a calendar year grant. It needs to be met and verification audited this year, or else we have to give our money back. So the foodborne illness document, I've looked at it a lot with Michael. Relevant helped us with crafting it. And basically, if you see like for what's showing now, like A, where it says in bold under investigative procedures, it's in bold because those are the requirements of the FDA, who sees this for any jurisdiction in the country, if you will. So they have the requirements listed in their, when you look into FDA Retail Standard 5. And then with this document, what we're doing then in the below the bold sections, there's the lighter typing, which is basically saying what Southborough is going to do, to meet the bolded FDA requirement, if you will. So, and then we've looked at the document, I've looked at with Taylor and with Michael. And so we had a couple questions in particular, or we can just go through it. But one of them in terms of particular was about whether we want actual names listed or more like titles or roles.
Yeah, I
as you'll
think
see that's later in the document.
so my initial reaction on that is that it should be roles and not people's names.
Yeah, I have a draft of that
Okay.
as well, but yes, we'll
But
go
can we
through
back,
this.
can we back up for a second? So
Yep.
I just want to make sure I understand what you just said. So the
Okay.
bold 1A
Yeah,
is the FDA requirement.
basically, yep. The program has written operating procedure for responding and right. And then, right.
And then the next section where it's 1, the public health nurse will blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
That's Southborough's.
right. That's good. I mean,
Response to that?
I think it's, let's put it this way, for these, there's a number of towns in Massachusetts doing this. I think this is what Southborough is answering requirements with. It may be similar, I'd say, to some other towns in Massachusetts.
Yeah. So the unbolded text, is that, has Michael said that that is what he's doing? Or are there things that are in those sections that we aren't doing or aren't doing yet?
I think he felt for the most part, I mean, it's nurse and inspector, it's both. For Michael, I think that for the most part, he says this is what he's doing. They talk about doing a HACCP inspection. And then some of the kind of lighter text refers to what we are recommended to do per the state. So that's called the Food Protection Program. And I, like, for example, I was in contact with them last year about doing the risk-based inspection schedule. So the state has recommendations about how to do the investigation. And so some of these are taken from the state and to work in conjunction with the state. And Taylor would expound more, but with the foodborne illness and the MAVEN, that the state, you know, epidemiologist is a collaborator with the as well.
So I think on this one where it's so heavy on the food inspections, that we probably should table this one until next meeting and have Michael come in.
Have what?
Have Michael come in.
Michael, yeah, okay, but
Yeah.
can we go through on a couple other questions just so we can get it ready for May?
You can try.
Okay.
What-
Okay.
What page?
Well, the names was one of them, right?
Yeah.
The names was one of them. And then, yes, okay, so I mean, I can tell you what Michael said if you want to go up here, because go back.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So that one, he initially, because the last two one are about collecting relevant food samples from the establishment, and he initially said, well, I don't do that every time, you know, that I'm doing a foodborne illness investigation.
So you're
But-
talking about these bulleted ones here?
Yes, because that's the
Okay.
part, if you go up, that's what the health inspector does.
Okay.
Because those are the bullets, that's how they're described, is the health inspector's investigation.
Yeah,
You see
so
what I mean?
this seems like it's very relevant though to Michael's
Right.
stuff. So let's just wait for Michael to come in and talk to us, because I think
Okay.
us telling you what to, like, I think it's just better to have him to speak to this piece.
Yep.
Okay, so what's your next one?
Okay, you can keep going down. Right, so that was the thing about the names and titles, but you said you likely want the titles. Yep. And then stop there for a moment. C, where it talks about the program maintains a written operating procedure or a memorandum of understanding with the appropriate epidemiological investigation program department to conduct the
Yep.
investigation, to report findings. So the state that puts together a document, see where it says chapter 5 in the NPH revenue, right, that indicates the roles and duties. So what Southborough does is the written operating procedures that is done by the state for this piece.
Okay. Is that a question?
No.
Did I lose you?
Nope.
I can't hear. Yeah, I think we lost Heather.
Okay. Can you hear me?
No.
No.
Very, very faint.
Okay, well, I'm done with the document.
Oh, there
if
you
that's
are.
what you need. Okay.
Sorry, so can you say that part again? I didn't know if there was a question in there.
It would, I'm okay with it, I guess. Are you okay with that?
I don't know.
Got it.
I don't know if. Am I okay that we're saying that
Yep.
the state's providing
Yep.
this manual? I
Yep.
mean.
Yeah.
So I just looked at the manual, I just pulled it up, and there's no roles, duties, or responsibilities listed. It's a 25-page document that just goes through an example of how you would fill out a questionnaire in regards to a foodborne illness symptom.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that piece again. Again, I did look at the piece, because this appears twice. In the investigation, the other one is about using the state lab. So on the state lab one, it was very clearly listed about, yeah, roles and duties. But I'll look at, there's a chapter, okay, I'll look at chapter 5 again.
Okay.
Yeah, it just goes through how to conduct an investigation.
Okay. All right, I think that's it.
Okay. All right, so we'll make sure we invite Michael to our next meeting. Okay, okay, so next is resignation of Dr. Heather Alker. So Heather joined
Yep.
Southborough in 2021. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, and helped us through the pandemic and kind of coming out of the pandemic, and wore a lot of different hats, probably some that she had never seen before. And I feel bad I can't see you on camera, Heather.
No, I know, of course, today, maybe next time.
Maybe next time. So at this time, Heather's decided to move on from her employment at the town of Southborough in the health department to pursue other options. And on behalf of the board, in the town, I just wanted to thank her for her service. And you know, I think one of probably two of your biggest highlights of your work here was the COVID and helping some visitors that we had last summer in town. So I know that you were integral in that work as well. So thank you for all your efforts on that front.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo that too. And especially, when we were in the midst of COVID and, we needed to maximize in-person learning for our kids, having your support was really, really important for us and guidance through that part.
Did we lose you again?
Yep, no, I'm here.
Okay.
Yep. Well, no, I mean, it's mixed emotions, and I think that, the health department is in good shape because we've benefited, with our regional shared service public health excellence grant. We're in the 4-Town Collaborative, Greater Boroughs Partnership for Health. And that was kind of started in 2019, even before COVID, with the Blueprint for Public Health Excellence to strengthen delivery of local and regional public health in Massachusetts. And so that I think the health department is in good position. I think, like you said, the fiscal year contract is ending, and so the resignation is in. And I do want to thank and acknowledge all the residents that especially those I've crossed paths with, but wanted to thank all the residents for their engagement. Also thank the dedicated, excellent town employees I've worked with, and wishing the department and the board the best going forward with their reorganization and with ongoing work for the health and well-being of our community here.
Thanks, Heather. Thanks for all your
Thank you, Heather.
efforts. We appreciate it. Good luck on your next venture. Okay, so next with that, we're going to talk about the reorganization of the health department. So this department's gone through a lot in the last, even prior to any of us being on it, right? Before I joined, it was really heavy on the septic side. And then, when COVID hit, bringing Taylor and Heather on, we really got heavy on the medical side. And prior to Taylor, I don't think that we had a full-time nurse in the health department ever. And so I think that's really highlighted what we've been able to do for the residents, providing a wider breadth of services. And kind of as we look to the future, one of the items that the board has raised and been concerned about is sustainability for the positions that we have. And one of those being septic. So looking at kind of where we're at now and the support from the boroughs and what resources we have available, I'm proposing that we create a new director role, health director role, that would incorporate all the nursing services into that role. So it'd still be defined as a health director, but one of the qualifications is that this person be an RN and have and obtain their RS within a certain amount of time. And an RS, for anybody watching, is a registered sanitarian. So the goal would be that this health director position would be able to oversee and have knowledge of the septic side of the house. And that's something that I think we've not had the benefit of having. We've kind of had like two, they work collaboratively together, but we haven't had like the oversight of that probably ever, because prior to 2021, we really didn't have a lot of the medical side. So the board was sent a draft job description for this health director position. And the goal would be that we would be able to get this in place for July 1 and have it be an SAP employee. So I'll stop there and see if there's any comments on the direction of at least that piece of the reorg. Okay. That being said, I would like to be able to, if everything goes well, not have, be able to do an internal shift of resources so that we could fill that position internally and then not backfill another position. So essentially this would combine positions within the department internally and not have to go external, as well as then free up some resources to be able to actually look at getting an RS on staff. I think, we have Dennis Costello, who has been great to the town, and he would continue in that capacity. But I think looking to the future, we really need to have a more permanent solution for that over the next couple of years. So shifting some of those inspectional services that currently Taylor's doing over to an RS to free her up, assuming that we can consolidate positions and have Taylor take over a greater role in the department.
I like that. I mean, the only thing is in that interim, or is that too much for one person to have to do this? Or is Dennis always going to be available still until we do
Yeah,
this?
Dennis is available. And I have had a conversation with Dennis so he's not going to be surprised that this is hopefully going to come to fruition. Dennis is a part-time contracted employee. And he's very kind to us and gives us a lot of time. And I think, over the next couple of years, his time may shift to do other things too. So the goal would be that in the interim, we'll have to figure out what we do about those inspectional services that Taylor's currently doing. And Taylor, feel free to jump in here if you're uncomfortable with the proposal here. But we have boroughs to help us too if we really run into an issue. And Taylor's ramping up now to do camp inspections, and so that's really seasonal. Pool inspections, seasonal. So and you'll probably have those done by beginning of June.
Pools,
Yeah. And camps?
probably. Camps, no.
No?
Camps go through August.
Inspections though?
Yes.
Okay.
'Cause
So,
we do them while the camp's running.
okay.
So there's some camps that don't start until August,
So we will have a time period where we're gonna have to figure that
Mhm.
piece out after. Because there's there's still some things that we would need to figure out in order to get an RS on board. And we would have to continue to work with the boroughs to see how we could do that. But I just wanted to throw it out there as this is the direction that I think the health department needs to go in. And I think if we could accomplish this, it would create a great balance for us. And having Taylor be kind of overseeing all of those aspects of it, I think would provide great value. And we just need to figure out how we can backfill some of the things that she's doing that probably wouldn't have time to do with a greater role.
I think so. And a seasonal means like once the summer's over, we get into flu and COVID vaccine clinics
Well,
and all
right.
that other stuff that Taylor has to put in. And how much support is there now from the boroughs in terms of nursing support for Taylor when we need like on the ground nursing?
I'll let Taylor speak to the nursing support on the borough side.
So as of July 1, we'll be posting for a full-time nurse again. And then we have 2 part-time nurses and then kind of like 2 or 3 per diem nurses that are able to help out as well. So
Okay. That was my only fear is how much we're loading onto you, Taylor, as we transition so that we have.
I appreciate it.
I think it will be a rough
Mhm.
6 months.
I do too. I think it will
Until we-
sort itself out.
Yeah. And as we know, hiring is not the quickest process. So you have to factor that in too. And there's also like, we don't have, so I'll get into the job descriptions in a second, but we currently don't have an RS job description. So we would need to go through that process as well with personnel.
And then some of the nursing positions, are they only going to be RN advertised or LPN advertised as well? If it's someone just to give vaccines and stuff, or how is that going to work, or what level of responsibility? Because it may be easier to get LPNs for support as well.
Yeah, so the full-time position would have to be an RN because it has to be someone with a BSN to do tuberculosis case management, which the full-time nurse would take responsibility for as well. So it would definitely have to be a BSN for that position that will be posted. But the rest of the positions are already filled.
Oh, they are. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. Okay.
And I know this isn't listed on our agenda, but we can certainly talk about it in the future. But I think Taylor's not for next year, but I think we need to look at other options for vaccines. And being able to provide it the way we provide it, but expand how we do it and not need to rely on as much town staff or borough staff. But we can talk about that in a future agenda. So you've been provided with a draft job description for the health director, which essentially is a combination of what Heather has been doing, plus what Taylor's doing, but took some stuff out that Taylor currently does, and tried to make it really a be-all end-all leadership role for this department, as well as provide the medical nursing support that Taylor's been doing. So do you have any comments about it, Safdar?
No, just it's still got the SAP and whether we discuss that now, but how much, obviously this is going to, with compensation wise, we have to go up on the SAP.
Oh, yeah. So, yes. So
Mhm.
assuming the board agreed with this today and Taylor didn't have any other comments about the job description, the goal is to get on the personnel board in May. And we would be requesting that they grade this position. We see what it's graded at, right? And then we make a determination on, where it falls out within the band. The goal would be that this position would be above where the nurse is today, that position. And this would need to go to town meeting. So, however, we could request of personnel board that they have language in the SAP that allows them to add a position to the personnel plan without town meeting, but it's contingent upon town meeting once it comes. So there is a fall town meeting scheduled for September 23rd. So what we would be requesting is that personnel board approves this contingent upon town meeting, and then we would go to town meeting in September and have this amended in the SAP bylaw and have it effective. But we would still want it in there for July 1 so that we could properly compensate starting that.
Sounds good.
So that's the goal. Now, the preference is that this position would be on the SAP. The fallback is if it doesn't band out the way that we would want it to, or if it fails at town meeting or whatever, we still have the ability to do a contract.
Right, right. That's what I was
That's
gonna say.
not
We can still
what we
do
want to do.
contractual, right? We don't want, but that is there. Okay.
But it's an option. So at least we're not in a position where on September 23rd, we have an employee, but it failed at town meeting, and then I don't know what happens in that case. It's not good. But at least we have that option. So that's kind of what the path forward. And so my goal is, assuming that this went well today, I think they meet the second Wednesday in May. Then they have it graded by their first meeting in June and hopefully signed off on in June. So that way it's in place for July.
Perfect.
The sanitarian's a little bit more complicated because I'm hoping that would be shared position. And obviously that's not a rush because we don't have an employee sitting in front of us that we would like to move into that role internally. So that one, I'm less concerned about getting it in place for July 1. However, I don't want to wait until September to put that in because I want to start advertising for it so that we can provide that relief for the other inspections that Taylor's currently doing.
Does Northborough have one now?
No,
I don't know. Northborough's in flux now too with Kristen resigning.
don't.
Okay. Okay. So that's in terms of shared resources, we're sort of at this point. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Let's put it this way. There's a lot of need in our boroughs group even to be talking about this. So I'm hoping that once things kind of fall into place, we can start having those conversations.
Okay. Okay.
Taylor, anything else you want to add to? Okay.
I don't think so. I think you covered it all.
Okay. So I'm going to move that the Board of Health accept the health director job position that would be effective for July 1, 2024, and pursue approaching personnel to grade and accept the position.
I second and vote aye.
Okay, Malinowski's aye. Thank you. And then more to come on the sanitary. Okay, Collins Center report presentation. So this, I just wanted to remind you, this is May 21st at 2024 at 7 p.m. at Public Safety Building. So they will be providing, it still will be in draft form, but they'll be providing the report for the 3 towns that we looked at expanded shared services with, as well as a regionalization option. I'll remind you that the Boylston Board of Health was opposed to doing anything sort of regionalization. Collins Center is still included in there, so we can shelve it if we need to, and we can go back to it in 10 years. So at least we have it in writing, but that is not what Boylston was looking to do. So that we're trying to get all 3 towns together so that Collins Center can present it once and we can hear each other's feedback and questions, and then we'll finalize the report after that. And we can provide a hybrid option too, for those who can't make it. Okay, Greater Boroughs. Anybody have a hard stop at 12? Okay, I'll go quick. Greater Boroughs, so we're still in draft form on the IMA. I heard back from town council and got it over to Isabella. So she's working with the people that helped her put it together. So I'm hoping for our next meeting that I'm going to have a draft for us to sign off on. As soon as I get it back this round from Isabella, I'll send it to you guys just to see if you have any feedback. And then we also need the select board to sign off on it. So I'm hoping that we can just put it on their consent agenda. And because our town council has given feedback, so more to come on that. Opioid settlement survey outreach. So the boroughs voted 2 weeks ago, maybe, on using extra PHE money that we had from Erin's departure on doing the actual survey for the opioid settlement money. So I know Isabella is working on signing off on those contracts. That needs to be done, or at least encumbered by 6:30, because that's when those monies have to be expended. But that was one of the allowable expenses, which is great. And this is Safdar, I know you're very familiar with this, but this is the piece that we have to do in order to expend the opioid settlement fund. So it's great that we don't actually have to dip into the opioid funds to be able to do the survey. We can save that for the actual work that we want to do. So we'll keep you posted as we do that, but that was a great win for all the towns. Okay, upcoming meeting schedule, 5/21/24, we're 10:30 virtual. Do we want to pick June?
Let me just pull up my calendar. I guess without Liz here, I just want to,
I know.
we just wait and just do it through.
Yeah, you want me to just send an email? I can do that.
Yeah, or just because, I mean, I'm not too busy in the Tuesdays in June, or
Okay.
evenings. If Liz wanted an evening on another night
Okay.
too, in June, just for her flexibility as well, because sometimes
Okay.
Tuesdays are for her.
That's fine.
So we
All
can.
right, so we'll see where she's at.
With that.
Okay. And I think we'll probably have a pretty busy agenda next month too, because Taylor and I've been talking about some projects that hopefully we'll have an update on next month. So, okay. Anybody have anything else they want to add?
Just something to look into, and as we look is the Blackstone Valley Partnership for Public Health recently hired a community caseworker. And
Okay,
I'm actually going to meet with her because that's where my clinic is. So
Yeah.
we can put that on the agenda. And I just want to see
Okay.
how it's involved and things. And I mean, it can be, I don't know where they got the funding for it. I'd love to know more about it.
interesting.
That's something-
There's quite a few shared service regions that have a similar position.
And that's something we can look into, how we transfer funds in the future, because it's a great assistance for Taylor, but also when we get something like, newcomers in a shelter or any sort of things that need responsiveness or help with home visits in that role and something. So I'm going to try to get more information about this
Okay.
person. As
Great.
we look into this, is all like even opioid settlement funds. Like this is something we can look at as a group, and that was the Blackstone Valley Partnership with like 8 towns.
Yeah, if you can get a job description and like maybe a scope of what she's been working on.
Sure. I will.
He or
I'm
she.
actually going to try to arrange a one-to-one meeting with her in the next few weeks. So
Great.
Great. So we'll add that to April's,
Yeah.
May's agenda. We're in April.
And I'd love to move us in that direction.
Okay,
In the caseworker.
awesome. Okay, public comment? Nope. All right, so I move to adjourn at 12:03 PM.
I vote second motion, vote aye.
Okay, Malinowski, aye. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.